The Dyatlov Pass incident, death in the snow. Imagine a frozen wilderness, miles from civilization, where the wind howls through jagged peaks and the snow buries secrets no one can explain. It's January 1959, and a group of young adventurers sets out into the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia, chasing the thrill of the unknown. They're experienced, determined, and full of life. But within weeks, they'll all be dead, their bodies scattered across a desolate slope in ways that defy logic. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident, a mystery so strange, so haunting, that it's puzzled investigators, scientists, and conspiracy theorists for over 6 decades. Welcome to Darker Unveiled, where we unravel the world's darkest enigmas. If you're ready to dive into the chilling unknown, hit that subscribe button and let's step into the snow. The journey begins. It all started with Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student with a passion for the outdoors. He gathered 8 friends, 7 men and 2 women, all in their 20s, for a winter trek to Otorten Mountain, a remote peak whose name, in the local Mansi language, means "don't go there." They were skilled hikers and skiers, trained to handle the brutal cold of the Urals. Their goal was simple: reach the summit, earn a prestigious certification, and return home as heroes. On January 23rd, they boarded a train from Sverdlovsk, laughing and snapping photos, their backpacks stuffed with gear. A 10th member, Yuri Yudin, joined them but turned back early due to illness, a decision that would save his life. The last time he saw them, they waved goodbye from a truck heading into the wilderness. He had no idea he'd never see them again. The final days. The group's plan was to ski 300 kilometers through the mountains, camping along the way. They kept a diary, scribbling notes about the weather and their high spirits. "The snow is deep, but we're making good time," one entry read. On January 31st, they reached a valley near Kolat-Syakhl, a name that translates to Dead Mountain. The weather turned harsh, with winds whipping snow into blinding curtains. They pitched their tent on a gentle slope, a spot Igor chose to avoid the dense forest below. It was a smart move, or so they thought. A photo taken that day shows them digging into the snow, smiling despite the cold. That night they ate dinner, settled into their sleeping bags, and waited for dawn. It was the last normal moment of their lives. The discovery. Weeks passed with no word. By mid-February, their families grew worried, and a search party was launched. First volunteers, then the Soviet military. On February 26th, rescuers spotted the tent, half buried in snow. It was slashed open from the inside, as if someone had clawed their way out in a panic. Footprints led down the slope, some bare, others in socks. No boots, despite the -30-degree cold. A mile away, near a cedar tree, they found the first bodies. Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko, shirtless and shoeless, frozen beside a small fire. Their hands were burned, as if they'd gripped the flames in desperation. 3 more, Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin, lay further up the slope, posed as if they'd tried to crawl back to the tent. Their faces were locked in agony, but there were no obvious wounds. The searchers were baffled. What had driven them out into the night? The missing 4. It took 2 more months to find the rest. In May, as the snow melted, a ravine revealed a gruesome scene. Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Zolotaryov, Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, and Alexander Kolevatov were buried under 4 meters of ice, their bodies mangled in ways the others weren't. Lyudmila's tongue and eyes were gone, her ribs crushed. Alexander Zolotaryov had a caved-in chest, as if hit by a car. But there were no cars for miles. Nikolai's skull was fractured, and Alexander Kolevatov's neck was twisted unnaturally. Yet their skin showed no cuts or bruises, no signs of an attack. Their clothes were radioactive too, a detail that would fuel wild theories later. The rescuers stood over the ravine, staring at the broken bodies, and realized this was no ordinary accident. The official explanation. The Soviet investigation was too quick, some say. The official report called it an unknown compelling force. No foul play, no suspects, just a vague shrug. They pointed to hypothermia. The group fled the tent, got lost, and froze. The injuries? Maybe they fell into the ravine. The missing tongue? Animals, they said. But the explanation didn't hold up. Why cut the tent from the inside? Why leave their boots and coats behind in a blizzard? And what about the radiation? The case was closed, the files locked away, but the questions lingered. Families demanded answers, and soon the Dyatlov Pass became a legend, a puzzle too strange to ignore. Theory 1. The avalanche. Let's start with the most popular theory, an avalanche. The slope was shallow, but some experts say a rare slab avalanche, a sudden shift of snow, could have rumbled down Dead Mountain that night. The noise might have panicked the group, sending them bolting out of the tent without thinking. They cut their way free, ran downhill, and got separated in the dark. The injuries in the ravine? A fall after the chaos. It's tidy, logical, but there's a problem. No avalanche debris was found. The tent stood upright, undisturbed. And why strip half naked in the aftermath? The avalanche theory explains some things, but not everything. Theory 2. Infrasound panic. Here's a weirder one. Infrasound. Low-frequency sound waves caused by wind swirling around the mountain can't be heard but can rattle the human brain. Studies show infrasound triggers dread, nausea, even hallucinations, enough to make 9 rational people lose their minds and flee. Imagine it. They're sleeping, then suddenly gripped by terror they can't explain. They slash the tent, stumble into the night and scatter. It fits the panic, but not the injuries. Could sound waves break ribs or rip out a tongue? Most say no. Still, it's a chilling thought, nature itself turning against them. Theory 3. Military cover-up. Now we enter conspiracy territory. The 1950s were peak Cold War, and the Urals were a testing ground for Soviet weapons. Some believe the group stumbled into a secret experiment, maybe a missile, a chemical blast, or a sonic weapon. The radiation on their clothes supports this, so does the speed of the investigation's shutdown. The injuries could be from an explosion, the missing tongue from acid or scavengers after the fact. Locals reported orange lights in the sky that February 2, UFOs or military flares. Critics argue there's no hard proof, just whispers. But in a lockdown regime, would proof even survive? Theory 4. The Yeti connection. Yes, it sounds wild, but hear me out. The Mansi people spoke of a Menki, a Yeti-like creature roaming the mountains. A 2014 TV special claimed a blurry photo from the group's camera showed a hulking figure in the trees. Could a beast have attacked, driving them from the tent? The crushed bones and missing tongue fit a predator, though not the lack of claw marks. Most dismiss this as fiction, a tabloid twist on a real tragedy. Yet in the vast frozen Urals, who's to say what lurks? The enduring mystery. So what killed them? An avalanche, a sound wave, a missile, a monster, or something we haven't even imagined? In 2019, Russia reopened the case, blaming an avalanche again, but the files stay sealed, and the doubts remain. The Dyatlov Pass incident isn't just a story of death. It's a mirror for our fears of nature, of secrets of the unknown. 9 young lives ended on that slope, their final moments locked in ice and silence. Maybe the truth is out there, buried under Dead Mountain, waiting for someone brave enough to find it. What do you think happened? Drop your theory in the comments, and if you want more mysteries like this, subscribe now. Hit the bell so you don't miss our next dive into the dark. Until then, stay curious and watch the shadows.